So let's fix a few things or add a few things. You notice at the bottom here we have the no books found added book. So this is for the reading list you saw before, but for what we're reading right now, we don't have such thing. So we should do the same thing as well. All right, let's go up here where we're getting the information or stream builder. So right here, I'm going to say if user book filter list dot length is greater than 0, so we're good, then this will happen. Otherwise, we're going to put a center, and the child's going to be text, and the text will say you haven't, and I have to escape like that so we can put apostrophe. You haven't started reading. And I'm going to put a new line like that. Start by adding a book. Okay. Let's go ahead and add a style here. Text style. And font size, it's going to be about 18. And font weight, bold. There it is. Just like we're expecting one more. There we go. All right, so this should do it. Now, the next thing we need to do, now we have a lot of books there. If I were to go and delete all of these books, actually, I can just delete the entire collection. Oh, it always hurts. Let's go ahead and do that. If we go back, notice, voila, nothing is showing there because all the books were deleted. You haven't started reading, start by adding book, no books found, and it's good. So if I were to log in the other user, the same will happen because we deleted all the books. But if I add a new book for John, let's say being happy, I'm sure there's been books written about happiness. Let's hope. All right, there we go. Let's read that book. If I save, go back, we should see the book is being added for John. Okay, so things are good, looking good, and I like them. Let's add one more book while we're here. Okay, development. Let's say app development. Oh, so many books. How about this one? Sure. Let's say web development. Sure, why not? Should add a few. All right, if we go back, we should have 2 more added. So we have 3 books there right now. Very good. It's looking real good. Now we need to do something else because remember, going back to our final product, if you will, if you click anywhere, this happens. So we have this pop-up that shows a description of the book. So this is details book, right? The first thing is you get to say, okay, when you started reading this book. So I started reading this book, or this person started reading on May 12th, and they can mark as read. They can also rate it. So let's say it's 5-star and they say mark as read, and they can add some thoughts, right? You can say greatest book ever read, something like that. The moment they say update, notice now that goes away. Where did it go? Well, it went under the list of books read. So this person has read 5 books, and you can see, I gotta copy the same books there, but you can see that this one on May 15th, this is what was read. At least that's when we finished reading. They finished reading this book. Okay, so that's the idea anyway. So the moment the books is read, then of course that disappears with these sections for books that are being read. So now, for instance, if Gina decides to start reading professional Android 2 application development because she thinks she wants to be a developer, Android developer, she says starting, and if she updates, right away the book goes into this stack. And she can click here and start adding, for instance, say, okay, this is 3-star, and update. It's going to be 3-star, and she reads, and later she's done. Notice that once that has been started, you can't unstart it again. So it just makes sense. And if she says, okay, as she's reading, she changes, keep going, things are changing, and she can say, well, reading it so far, I like it. Update, of course, that's all there. If you go back, all of those updates are there, okay? So when she is done, she can come here and say mark as read, and then life is good. Okay, so she can also put 5 and say mark as read and update. And it's gone again. Go back to Gina. You can see there it is, finish date. So let's start with clicking, right? Making sure that when this is clicked, then something happens. Now, you remember correctly, if we go back to our code, you'll see, let's go to our two-sided rounded button. No, actually the list card. That's where we need to go. All right. You will see that we also pass these functions here, like press details, press read. Now, although we have these, we're not necessarily going to use that, because if we do that, this is going to be compartmentalized into just one section of the card. So if I click on one of these, so command click, go there, you'll see that it's called inside here, which is going to be just inside of these two reading button there. Okay, that's not what we want. What we want, rather, is to make it so that this entire view, this entire card, when clicked, it is going to then invoke, it's going to respond to that click event, this entire card. Now, you could, if you want to make all compartmentalized, that's fine, but I want to make sure that the whole card is clicked and then something happens. So we are going to do something different. Going back to our main screen there, and let's start with the top card. So this card here, I'm going to wrap it inside of an inkwell. Right? So an inkwell just gives us minimal capability for clicking and so forth. As I said, where inkwell ends, I can say tap like this, or on tap. There it is. And then here is where I can do something when this whole card is tapped. Now, what is that we want to do? Well, we want to have this click, and we have, again, an alert dialog. Pause this video and see if you can just open up an alert dialog. All right, so we've done this a few times. I'm gonna say show dialog, and then we have a builder. We want, let's see what we can return right now. So I'm gonna say return an alert dialog. For now, let's just pass a title, say content, pass a text that says book dot title. Just like that, something, so we see that things are indeed working. All right, so if I click this, there you go, the title of that book. Okay, click this one, there's the title of that book that was clicked, click away, and okay, so it's working. Okay, we're getting the correct book, the correct item that was clicked. But that's not all we want to do. Obviously, that was just a little test. When we do this, first of all, we are going to pass a title. And this title is going to have a column. So I'm going to pass column as such, and this column, of course, has children. Okay, because remember, we are trying to have something like this. So we're going to have there an image, and then the title, and then a form. Okay, we're going to slowly get there. All right, so for our children, first of all, I'm going to pass here a row, and then inside of this row, I'm going to have children, and then I'm going to pass a circle, avatar, because I need to add that image, right? So nothing really new. You notice the more you do this, there's a lot of repetition really in coding. It just becomes more of what is it that you're trying to build. So I'm going to say colors, make it transparent, and then background image. It's going to be, I'm going to use network image, and here I'm going to pass the book that photo URL. Let's not forget the radius of about 50. Okay, let's click. There we go. Looks very strange because we have it to the left, but we're going to fix that. But each time you click either one of these, actually it has to be the top ones because we haven't worked on the bottom ones, but there we go. It is indeed working. Very good. Now, Why is it that did I put in a row? If you notice here, we have this row here, circle avatar. The reason being is because if you look at this guy here, the idea is that I want to add this X button icon there. So when they click, then they can get rid of that pop-up. So that's the idea anyway. Many ways to do this, but this idea will work as well. So I am going to add an icon. First of all, I'm going to add a container inside of this row. Make sure we're inside after the avatar. I'm going to put a container, and then for the child, it's going to be text button icon. And we know that the moment this is pressed right away, we just want to get out of here. So I'm going to say navigator of, pass the context, and let's just say pop. Okay, that's all. For the icon, I'm going to pass the icon constructor, say icons, close. And for the label, I'm just going to say text. It's going to be an empty text, if I can type, of course. Let's save that. Now, because I know that I'm inside of a row and I have this avatar, circle avatar, in this container, which has that X button or X icon, what I can do to force things a little bit, I'm going to pass, first of all, add a spacer here, okay, and add more spacers. I'm going to copy this before the avatar. Okay, let's put 1, 2. So this is just going to force everything to give itself as much space as they need. Okay, let's check. And you can see there it is, right? Okay, let's cut this, and there's that, or rather this one. Okay, that's fine. We can always play with that, and we will, to make sure that it really looks better than that, but that works fine. One thing I can do, because I want to make sure that button icon is a little bit more to the top, right? So I can give it an actual bottom padding. So this icon inside of a container, I can put margin sets only. Let's say bottom. Let's give about 100. So that will help. Okay, next let's just go ahead and add the text here. The last thing we're going to do right now. Row ends, I'm going to add a text. I'm going to pass book author like this. And I'm going to get rid of that because we won't do anything for now. In fact, later we're going to add a form here. Okay, let's test. And there we go. All right, it's working fine. Now, here's what I want you to do before we go to the next video. It's going to be a little bit challenging, but you can do it. We've done this. As I said here, if you look right here, I said add a form. I can even say to do like that. Okay, to say add a form. And so what I want you to do is to add a form. Okay, so the form will have to look something like this. Notice you already have all the tools to get this done. So at least add all of these fields. Don't worry too much about whatever it's in between. Add these fields and that field as well as these buttons, 2 buttons there. Don't worry again to make it look like this. It's okay. We're going to do that later. All right, so try to get as close as you can to what you see here. And I'm very sure you can do. And also make sure to pre-populate these fields, because as you see, when we click any of these, that was the one that we clicked, or this one here, we get that book object and we pass on all the fields contents, as you see. See if you can do that. Take your time and don't skip this, okay? Take your time, do that before you go to the next videos.